Sounds
Hi, I'm Naomi Hall, and I want to welcome you to Mindset Makeover, finding your power through fitness, nutrition, and community. There is so much conflicting information out there when it comes to our health and longevity. But one of the foundational pieces for all of it is mindset. So today I have Perry Tinsley with me, and he is an educator, a podcaster, and an entrepreneur, as well as a mindset and fitness transformation coach with a compelling personal journey committed to transforming lives through education and personal growth. And I know he's going to tell us a little bit about that journey today. So, Perry, welcome.
Hey Naomi, and hey everyone watching. Glad to be a part of this. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So I know you have a story of kind of your transformation and health and mindset and all of that. So can you take us through some of your story?
Of course. And what a journey. I love looking back at it because it is my journey and perceptions as I got to a point in life where, and many of us do, we get to those little benchmark ages or approaching a benchmark age. And mine was the age of 40. I was approaching that. Now, this is many years ago. But I'm sneaking up on it. And I was at a place in life that I literally promised myself, it wasn't a very strong promise, I guess, because I promised myself I would never get to this point in life where I was overweight, I was overwhelmed, I was just lacking energy. And the thing that annoyed me most, which might kind of just sound a little silly, was I had a beer gut that I'm like, no, I don't want this.
Hmm.
Where did this come from? And I remember back in my early 20s bowling with a guy, and it's like, oh, wait till you turn 30. It happens to all of us. I'm like, no, it won't. Yeah, there it was. So I went through some mindset shifts that I think will help many of you out here, especially if you've ever been in that cycle of, all right, I'm in this time, I'm all in, I'm ready to go. This is going to happen. I'm committed. And then a week or two, maybe it's longer than a week, maybe it's a few months, you get in, maybe you're getting some results, and then somehow you go back to old ways. Little sneaky habits come back in. You start to be a little bummed out as you step on the scale or go past the mirror because the results don't happen as fast and deflating. And then there's the stuffed crust pizza commercial comes on, and so you're feeling deflated. It's like it's an easy call. So um I what I ended up doing this time was because I'm like, what is going to make this different for me? And this was a long journey. I wish I could say this was an instant. Oh my gosh, miracles happen just like out of nowhere. But this was a process. But here's some things that I chose to do this time around for myself when it came to getting healthy and in shape. Because here was the deal. I needed to get radically honest with myself that I got myself into this.
Mm.
And it was really easy to point the finger. Well, I drive an hour a day to and from work. I'm a full-time teacher. I'm running a web design and videography business. I'm now running a German Shepherd rescue. Um, I had just gotten through a tragedy where I had lost my wife to a car crash. And so just the impact of all of it, well, who would blame you for, setting those other things aside? You've got stuff to do, right? So I had all those things, but I just got radically honest because to tell you the truth, I was looking for, is there a pill I can get from the grocery store or the pharmacy that, maybe off the shelf I can do, or, what are the procedures out there that I was looking for? Literally an edit undo button, an easy button to undo all of the unhealthy habits that I had accrued. And it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was more of what I call drifting. Okay. If any of you have ever snorkeled out there, you get the snorkeling gear out and you're looking underwater. It's a wonderful thing. All these things that you get to look at. and you pop your head up and don't realize how far you've drifted away from either the spot you started or you're so far from shore. And so year after year after year, you do that and you make these false promises on January 1st, or maybe it's December 31st for you. And then you hit the gym for a little bit and you're back to kind of a default. And so I stopped. I decided I'm going to stop pointing the finger and looking at outside circumstances. I'm going to take responsibility for myself, be radically honest with myself, call myself out on those moments where I think I'll just skip this one for now. You know, I started exercising and doing my little false promises. Maybe I'll do doubles tomorrow, you know, something like that. But to even begin with, I needed to make a committed decision. And making a decision happens in an instant, but a lot of times people don't make the decision they think they do. And they're like, well, I think I'm gonna do that. And then they'll put it off till Monday or to the following month. Or I was a teacher, so many of us teachers would say, well, when summer happens, you know, that school year's done, then I'll be hitting workout camp all summer long. Then summer happens because we got lazy habits over the summer. Well, maybe the fall.
In the summer.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. And you know, I don't want to deprive myself, and I don't want to be antisocial with all the events. And so we tell ourselves these stories to feel better about ourselves at the decisions that we're making that are not helping us towards our goal. So first of all, I think it's important to have a goal. And sometimes when I ask people, what do you have? You know, what's your goal? What would you love? What would you want out of life? They'll give me the big list of what they don't want, which is fine. But if you could take a look at that list of what you don't want and flip it into, well, how can I change that into what I do want? So that's where I made that committed decision. And so while I wanted to initially lose that beer gut, I recognized that I needed to take a little bit different approach than this is where sometimes people don't even get started. I know this kept me from starting a long time. It was, yeah, I know I'm going to get started, and in a few months, probably going to go back to old ways. So I don't want to set myself up for that failure, so I won't even start. So I called myself out on that. I'm like, what if you didn't quit? What would that look like? What would that look like in a year if I didn't quit? Because I became a really good master quitter. A lot of people are. We're so good at it just because we practiced it over and over and over. So, I mean, unconsciously quitting. And so the other thing is it's kind of looking for that little escape hatch is what I call it. It's as you get going, you're kind of looking for already strategizing ways to get out of the workout for the day, or, you know, coming up with the reasons why you didn't drink the water, or why you didn't you pick as healthy as you should have, doing the little mini giggles in there. It's like, yeah, I had some pizza today. I went into the teacher's lounge today. I had donuts. And we laugh to get the, you know, we're telling somebody, but we're beating ourselves up on the inside. And so or feeling like we got a guilt trip of some sort. And I said, I'm gonna stop that, you know, that and when it happens, I'm gonna call myself out on it and pivot in a different way. And so I was basically, if you've ever had, you know, I don't want to say if you've ever had, everybody has thermostat in their house, right? It's basically everybody's, let's say it's got 72 degrees, somebody leaves the door open, you're living in you know, northern Minnesota, middle of winter, well, the temperature is going to start to go down. You're like, oh, what's going on? House getting cold? Oh, you close the door, heat kicks in, air and everything, and then it's back to 72. So I needed to change that default, that back out. I had to get out of that comfort zone and create a different, what's going to be different for me this time. So I really dug deep. You know, why is this losing this beer gut so important? You know, what's that going to do for me? And so when I started to get serious on it, it really boiled down to self-worth and self-love, because I'd let myself down over and over and over. And so that pulled me in the direction of showing up for my workouts more than, oh yeah, I want to fit better in the jeans this week, and you know, but it's cold, it's dark out, whatever it was. The stories, and we come up with so many stories, and many, you know, these are mine, but I'm sure you can insert your own. So I'm about to turn 40. And so I'm looking at the old patterns, the old beliefs. So the patterns and the beliefs, let's put it in this word called paradigms. It was, well, it's kind of too late in life to get started. And you are pretty busy. You are busy. You're a busy guy, and a lot of us, we wear that busy badge so much that we program ourselves that we're busy. And guess what life does? It makes us busy, right? So I'm like, well, I'm busy. And I've got all these things going on. And I started to just say, you know what? Is it too late in life? Really? Where did I learn that from? And then the other thing was, well, you're too overwhelmed, you're too overweight. I saw the blueprint of what my family members and what coworkers and other people, maybe a little bit older than me, and the unhealthy habits. I've already seen the blueprint of where it was taking them. Well, that's kind of, yeah, this is just the way life is. So there's another story that was happening. And I'm like, is this the way life's supposed to be? Can I question that and make a change, taking total responsibility and taking action myself, instead of looking for some sort of magic pill, magic formula, edit, undo button, whatever it is? So that's where I started. And I know that, I mean, not everybody just sits there and thinks all this stuff through. But as I'm going, I promised myself that I would pay attention to the journey, instead of saying, well, I'm going to do this thing for 30 days. Sometimes like people will get in they'll get into like, oh, we're doing a little a wellness contest at work or something like that. And basically the mindset a lot of times is, oh, I'm doing this thing, but I can't wait to get off this thing. I hope I'll lose some weight. I hope this does some stuff, but we really don't program and rewire our mindset to say, this is my thing. This is who I am. We're waiting for some sort of escape hatch or something to give, or, it's like, oh, I twisted an ankle. So that means exercise can never happen ever again because of that. I mean, I'm being over dramatic, but we are over dramatic in our heads. So,
for sure.
I'm like, who do I need to be to achieve my goals? Okay. And so that's a lot of times people are like, they're envisioning themselves a year out and always leaving it as a year out. And I'm like, okay, a year out, you've done your exercise, you've eaten pretty darn well. Maybe it's not dialed in a perfect, but you've done this thing. You're working on maybe some mindset stuff and thinking a little bit different. What does that look like a year from now? And I start to think, well, I'm a person who exercises daily, a person who drinks water religiously. Maybe have some wine or beer once in a while, but it's not. But pizza's not my main food group anymore. I'm a person who finds healthier ways to make recipes for some of my old favorites. And so I'm thinking of that person a year out. What they've succeeded, they've done the best thing. And I'm like, that's me a year out. I'm going to start doing those things now and being that person now. Many people don't do it that way, but when you start doing those behaviors and being your belief begins to things start to happen. Your confidence starts to go. Now, I don't want to make it seem like, okay, you're being that, but Perry, you still have the beer gut. Perry, you're still stepping on the scale and it's way over. Perry, your clothes still aren't fitting. I can still go on my mindset and be that and still do the behaviors, because here's what I started thinking. I'm going to take the daily actions, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if I'm unmotivated, even if I had a long day. And I made that commitment myself. And I even said, if I can't get my long workout done, I've committed to a no matter what workout routine. So at least I proved to myself that I show up. Nutrition was probably the most challenging thing for me. And so I kind of dispelled things called diets. It's like, no, this is the way I eat this. So, and I buy groceries this way. That person a year out, they buy groceries this way. They make choices that are going to get them to their goal. They don't make excuses to keep themselves the same. So I'm going to do that now. and the excuses always come up, and the mindset, those things still. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, Perry, you magic wand yourself. No, it's just that I became aware of that thinking. I became aware of how I'm trying to get myself out of working out today because I wasn't feeling it. And I just said, you know what? I am being my healthy, fit self a year from now. And I think by doing those things, and this was kind of an experience over maybe about 60, 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize I wasn't at that point where I had adopted this is my lifestyle, that person a year out. I took my foot off the gas a bit. I went back to some old ways because I'm like, I got great results. Kind of got a little cocky. And when I went to do something called maintenance mode, whatever that is. Does life ever have a maintenance? Like we're just writing it. Nothing's ever happening. No, you're either going toward your goals or away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in a learning process now. And I realized quickly that my energy started dropping. My clothes started feeling uncomfortable again. And I'm like, this is a lifestyle thing. That was amazing feedback to get from what was happening around me, because there are those times where in the past it would have been, I started gaining weight, I would have a pity party about it. I would say, what's the use? I would go and just do these little sabotaging behaviors to eat more or whatever. What's the use? Or I would test things out. I would go in and say, well, I ate that couple cheeseburgers and some pizza this weekend. The scale didn't move at all. I can have more than that. And so I start to justify these things. And it was literally just when I said I was going to pay attention to the journey, that's what was revealing to me, was all the stories that I was telling myself to make it okay to go back to that default setting on the thermostat. When I already decided I'm changing the default setting. I'm being this is who I am now. So there was this constant ebb and flow back and forth. But the one mindset I said it to myself was, the goal is always my objective. That's the goal. It's not going to change. There is no quitting, because I gave that up, just like I gave up my 2-pack-a-day smoking habit years prior. So the fact that I'm exercising, doing all this stuff, and I used to be a 2-pack-a-day smoker, is pretty incredible to me.
You know how much you've extended your lifespan?
Yeah. And I never even take a look at that, because that was an old me. That was an old version, and I don't need to go back there other than tell a story and maybe inspire somebody else. But I don't live there anymore. And so, I'm sure it did. And my life is totally different. I choose foods that help me reach my goals. And so when I make decisions, it's not like I eliminated everything. It's not like I don't have off day workouts or days where I go in and it's like, it wasn't I wasn't at peak performance. That's not the case. What I'm doing. So here was one thing that I did to begin my journey. I put an X on the calendar each day I showed up. And this was the simplest thing. This is the simplest tracker calendar. One line meant I showed up for my workout. The other one meant I showed up and ate relatively healthy that day. Healthy enough to get me toward my goals. And my goal was to run 90 days straight. And so I said, well, I'm disciplining my mind. I'm disciplining my actions. I'm disciplining my thinking. By doing that, I created confidence. I created momentum. I created so many empowering things within the mind that I applied to so many other things in life. So it was just some of those things where I'm looking at and I'm like, here's my promise. I'm making an irrevocable decision here. A lot of times people don't do that. They make a decision, but it's and they have a fluffy goal. Like, oh, I just want to lose some weight and get in shape. And so go back to what it is on that goal that you want. Get very, very clear on what that goal is. And you can change the goal. You can always, you can customize it along the way, I guess I should say. And why it's important to you. that was the thing for me, is like, okay, that's it. Now initially it was the beer gut, but along the way, as I'm paying attention to the journey, I'm noticing energy levels up, I'm noticing different attitude, I'm noticing opportunities get created. um it was just all of these things if you're paying attention. See, many times we decide, I'm going to get healthy and fit, I'm going to get in shape and lose some weight, and we see a little discount at a possible gym, gym that we could do, or we, see some sort of infomercial or advertisement. But it's really getting into that visualization of how life will be different, what it will mean to you, what it will do for you and your family and your life and all the things you want to accomplish in life, and going really deep there, and then saying, that's who I need to be now.
Mm-hmm.
There is no waiting to do these things. This is who I, and adopting that identity. So you're basically changing your self-image, and you can do that. You are in control of those things. So that was me. I was like, I'm unmoved by obstacles. They're going to happen. As if I was going down the rapids, there's going to be trees and rocks and all this stuff. Well, my goal is to go to the direction around them, right? They're just part of the journey. And so I started this lifelong mindset. I'm not a person looking for escape hatches. I'm eating healthy, but enjoying foods when the timing comes, because I choose to, not because I'm feeling frustrated or stressed or anything like that. And I call myself out on past behaviors, or I've gotten so good at, that my wife and I will call each other out if we notice something, you get reactive to things. And that, I think the obstacles are just beautiful, and the feedback is really, really cool if you're paying attention. So it gets you through those moments when you're feeling super sore, when you're super bored at the workouts, when you're feeling overwhelmed by your day, when you're feeling like deflated walking by the mirror, or the scale changed, or the results aren't coming fast enough. I'm like, this is my life and who I need to be. This feedback right now that's happening around me is not going to keep me from that goal. Yeah, I might feel a little bummed or a little bit unmotivated or whatever, but I'm still showing up for me today and approaching my day that way, and all the things that I can empower myself, because I know should I do that, tomorrow's going to look different, next week's going to look very different, the next month, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So those are some things that I went through. I know, long story there, but and I asked myself some big questions along the way, especially when it came time to put where I was putting my energy. Am I going to put my energy into the reasons why I can't succeed, why I can't, or am I going to put them into making myself a priority? Because a lot of times people say, well, it's time to exercise, and we quick go into that. How do I get out of this? How can I come out? I got a to-do list. I got a thing. I got to take the kids to soccer. I got to do that. Are you defending your barriers, or are you getting in the exercise? Are you rationalizing your to-do list, or are you fueling up something to empower yourself? But I'm going to tell you what, when you empower yourself, and when you've got it in nutrition and moving your body and really working on your mindset, all those other things shift, they change. You're more in control, and you've got the energy. It's funny how the obstacles, many of them, tend to fade. A to-do list that seemed overwhelming is like, oh gosh, I did that in an hour. So it really goes into looking at your own thinking. Are you quick to respond and react and all that stuff, or just saying, what, this is calling yourself out on it, and saying, here's where I'm going. So those are just some of the things that I did along the way. But I'm going to tell you what, it's repetition. Repetition, like in the gym, is going to build your muscle and your endurance and your agility and all that stuff. Well, the repetition in mindset, whether you're using affirmations or journaling or visualization, I do all of it. That repetition and rewiring your mindset and who you need to be, and whatever the next level is for you, it builds that resilience, it builds that belief, it builds your confidence. And so and it's really great, when you're brainstorming all sorts of things, but you got to do, there is some taking action to doing. We can sit there and think about it all day long, but that's we have to take action, especially when it comes to exercise and making choices at the grocery store or at the restaurant or whatever that is. But I just, and recognizing those times when you're thinking, it's not even life, it's when you're thinking, it tries to bring you back into that comfort zone of where you were previously. There was always that lure of, well, I always have a cigarette here, I always have a cigarette there. As that transition happened, it's like, no, I need to do the things and change my environment. So get around, like for now with the exercising thing, within that 90 days, I found a community that was also on their journey. And that's another, so environment's a big part of it too. While I mainly decided to work out at home, I still, you still have your own thinking and your own thoughts to get you out of things. And so having a community where people are sharing their own struggles, but also you've got the ability to, when you're having a great day, to empower somebody else. And when your day is kind of low, they're there for you. And so that's another, great way to keep that momentum going. And so this journey started over 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm at another benchmark age, if you do the math, coming up.
Wow.
And I was like, who says that these things that are defining? Now the buzzword on the street is retirement. I don't know. That's the next chapter for me. And it's like, I'm going to dispel whatever that is supposed to mean. And so it's just shifting you're shifting your attitude and just your healthy habits and getting into those things. But now, I mean, if it were, it gets to be, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rain Man, where Dustin Hoffman starts to panic because it's like 2 minutes to Wapner, 5 minutes to Wapner, whatever it was. I forget the name of the show. But I kind of feel like that when it gets to be time that I should be in the gym working out. Now that's who I am. That was not who I was in my late 30s, where it was literally watching a guy build a fence around our house, totally ripped dude, while I'm sitting there with the pizza and the Mountain Dew and going, oh, I wish I could do that. Maybe someday I'll do that. Well, once I made that decision and decided never to go back. So I needed to build the habits first. There's a great book out there, Atomic Habits, if you've never read it, by James Clear. I don't know if he says it in the book or on his blog or whatever, but when it comes to health and fitness stuff, and this is a challenging thing sometimes to get your mind around, but he says in the beginning, when it comes to your health and fitness, it's more important to develop the habits than it is to see the results. And we're in a world where we want results fast. I mean, just think about it. If your internet speed was cut in half, you would go ballistic. Zoom wouldn't work, all this stuff. So we love speed, we love results, we want them quick. And we don't want to admit that all this drifting off course with our health habits over the years has gotten to us where it is. We want the easy button and the edit, done, do button. But if we just change that mindset and change that story and say, how do I want the rest of my life to be? I'm here now. Okay, that's the reality. I own that. Now I'm just going to do the actions to take it to the course I want and start being that now. And so if the first part is I'm going to develop the habits, just think about that. You develop the habits over the first 90 days, 120 days, and don't even pay attention to, are the jeans fitting better? Is the scale changing? All this stuff, because you're going to notice results happening in your energy and your confidence, in your mindset, in your strength as you're doing exercises, in your decision making as you're picking things out of store. So it's this wonderful, wonderful thing that can seem abstract at first, but if you pay attention to the journey, these things reveal themselves, and you're just like, wow, I want more of that. So that's kind of the story of how I undid the overwhelm, overcomplicated, overweight, all that stuff.
Wow.
You probably had questions and I didn't give you a breath.
No, you hit a lot of the questions that I had, because you brought up community and the importance of that community. Can you just touch on that a little bit more? Just kind of how, like, just how important that piece is in making this shift.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be.
Mm. I'm very
Initially,
much a go it on my own person. So
yeah. I was wanting this, for the longest time. It was kind of one of these, I'll show everybody. I'm gonna escape away for a summer. I'm just gonna go to this exercise camp, whatever, and gonna come back. I'll show them. And I'm like, what is that story about? Why is this playing? Why is that even a thing? And so I play this big imagination story. Um, and so when I decided to exercise, I'm like, and I felt like I felt awkward to where I then kind of embarrassed that I let myself get to where I was at, that I wouldn't go to a gym. Now, if anybody looked at pictures of me, they'd probably put me in the definition of, oh, you weren't all that overweight. You weren't all that, you were okay. And so that's their storytelling that, but my story to myself was different. So as I'm going, I started started tapping into an online community that we were using these things called message boards back. This is before the Facebooks and MySpace and all that stuff. I kind of make it sound like I need a walker, don't I?
but at least you don't look like you need one.
No, not at all. But it was some of those things where people paid attention and people responded, and it was like, oh, there's some, I don't know, it's like little energy shots of I don't know, whatever the energy that's going through your body is. It's like, oh, that's uplifting. That was really cool. And so a lot of those people I'm still friends with today. I mean, we chat all the time. So that community has really developed. Now, over, I didn't really share what, well, I did. You did share that I, do some coaching and mentoring with people now. And I created my own community because that really fuels a lot of people. And I can definitely recognize when those moments of, here comes the on again, off again roller coaster. I need to get started again. Somebody's gone into their cave and quit on their goals. I can recognize that very quickly. And so I can easily check in with somebody, not to call them out and say, oh gosh, what are you doing? But, just recognize, are you going through a thing? What's happening in life, those sort of things. Because sometimes just a little course correction can make a difference, and community can help with that course correction, whether it's just seeing somebody post something, somebody saying some sort of words, somebody sharing their journey, somebody even just sharing some of the struggles that they're going through. And while theirs might be heavy, you might be like, well, gosh, I just made mine seem like it was a big deal, and it was just somebody cut me off in traffic. What's the deal? And so, but it can be some of those things that can really be just one of the elements of helping you stick and stay toward your goals and your health and fitness. Just making yourself a priority and putting yourself first. I mean, it doesn't have to be where you're going out and trying to be on the stage for some sort of fitness competition. It's just lifelong energy, happiness, fulfillment that you're wanting. And if you've just felt off because you're feeling overworked, overwhelmed, and you're overweight, and you're coming up with all the reasons not to, or you're on social media doing the comparison game, and going, gosh, I wish I should have, would have, and all this stuff, is just like, well, just make a decision and just do a community. I mean, and keep it simple. That's all I was doing, pushing and pulling exercises, eating. Well, I didn't start with vegetables. I didn't even share about my aversion to vegetables, but I eat them now. So you might go, well, what did you eat? But it was just, simple nutrition, lean veggies, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, that sort of thing. So it was keeping it simple that way, pushing and pulling exercises, and just showing up daily, working on my mindset along the way. And then I started tapping into a community that at least it helped me with a level of accountability as well. But yeah, I mean, it just all came together very, very nicely. And now it's 20 years and let's see where the next 20 goes.
Yeah. So you've hit on so many things that I just love of like, what if you stopped quitting? Because I think so many of us, like you said, have that mindset of like, well, I failed so many times before, like why bother trying? But
Mhm.
I remember hearing like what you said reminded me of hearing one of the trainers say, well, what if you tried not quitting? Like, have you
Mhm.
tried that? And I was oh, like that's solid. Like, what if
Yeah.
you tried not quitting on yourself? Um,
Yeah.
that's such a different viewpoint on it.
That may be the thing that goes on the checklist for you each day. I didn't quit
Hmm.
today. Next day, I didn't quit. That was the way I had to give up smoking. Okay. I didn't have a cigarette this day. And the next day, I think people that deal with alcoholism, one day at a time is and I don't know what all the parameters and the 12 steps and all that is, but we take it one day at a time. And I know that a lot of times when it comes to the fitness stuff, whatever, we're wanting the results already.
Mhm.
And I just got rid of that mentality of I'm on this thing until I can't wait to get off of it.
Mhm.
I kind of had a 30-day mindset the way do you mind if I share that a little
Yeah, I
bit?
love that because I love your 30-day mindset.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing complicated. And your 30 days do not have to start on the first of the month. It's whenever you start. That's day
Mhm.
one. Okay. And make day one happen now. um, but I would just look at 30-day increments and like, what am I accomplishing? Who do I need to be in the next 30 days? What am I creating in the next 30 days? What's my exercise routine? And are there any other things that I want? And I don't try to overwhelm myself with, oh, I'm overcommitting,
Mhm.
because I think that's why a lot of people consider themselves busy, is because they just literally overcommit with things that aren't getting them toward their goals. Now there are some things, and I don't want to minimize that, but I do know a lot of people that say yes to things that aren't taking them where they really want to go. But I will just keep it simple that way. What's my exercise routine? Because I do move my body now. Um, if there's an eating thing, sometimes I've gotten so much into what my flow is that eating is, I just eat the way it is. But maybe it's like, hey, I want to go more plant-based this month or something. But I don't try to look at it as, well, I'm on this thing, I can't wait to get off this thing. I
Mhm.
take that away. What am I accomplishing for the next 30 days? And I start. And who do I need to be? And I just show up and I do that every day. As the end of that 30 days comes, it's never the mindset, I can't wait till 30 days is done.
Mhm.
It's what's next. Okay, I've done this. What did I learn from this experience, and what's next? So here's how I learned to like vegetables, because everybody's saying you got to like vegetables. I hated them all my life. I mean, it was actually a big traumatic part of my life. So when as I'm getting in this health kick, so to speak, I started to question those limiting beliefs, and vegetables came up, and I was going through a moment in life where there was like just really tough time with digestive things. And somebody was telling me about I think a doctor said, well, you can't have raw vegetables. And I'm like, okay, that I heard you can't have vegetables. That's the way I heard it.
Yep.
So I was talking with a trainer one time and they were like, oh, you don't have to have raw vegetables. You get steaming, you do all this stuff. And so basically she took me out of called me out on it.
Yep.
So I got me thinking, well, do vegetables matter? Do they really matter that much? I've gone all my life without really having them. So I found a way that I could tolerate them and not gag them down like when I was a kid. And within a week, I like dropped 5 pounds and my energy was off the charts. I'm like, no, that's a fluke. And I kept going. I'm going to test this out for the next 30 days. Toward the end of the 30 days, I was in. It's like, okay, this part of it. And then it was just learning and changing my taste buds and my mindset about them. Now we have Brussels sprouts and cauliflower and all sorts of things. But that was a big thing. So that's the way I look at my 30 days
Mhm.
to what am I doing this 30 days so I can take my next 30 days and the 30 days beyond that to keep going toward big goals. Now I set big goals that seem like they're going to be super impossible. But if I can just get to the next base camp and then the next base camp and then the next base camp, I'll eventually get to that Everest and then go and find another Everest. So that's the way I approach it. So I not only do that with my health and fitness stuff, I do it with my business stuff. I do it with just my own personal development. But it's always like, what does the next 30 days look like? And I don't just sit and ponder it. I get it down and then I take action on it. At the end of 30 days, if something didn't work, that's feedback. Then I pivot in a different direction. But I don't look at it as, well, that was a waste of time, because that's the way I used to approach the fitness stuff. I did not want to go 30, 60, 90 days putting in energy, putting in time, only to not get results and feel like I wasted my time. That would be deflating for me. Well, what was deflating to me was remaining the same and continuing to drift off course. So choose your path.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to test this out and keep going and see what this looks like in a year. And man, it was incredible. So that's the way I approached the 30 days.
I love that. And I love that you hit on the vegetables, because I was going to ask you, because I'm like, I grew up actually liking most vegetables. I have a few, so similar, a few that I hated growing up. And I found out as an adult, they're not so bad, because I questioned it. Kind of like you, I was like, well, what if I tried them again?
Yeah.
What if I tried them a different way? Like, I figured out that I actually love roasted beets. Like, who knew?
So good. Yeah.
No. So yeah,
Yeah.
questioning those assumptions that we have. And I think, so like, hearing from you the stories that you battled, and that I think is so helpful, because I think a lot of times we think it's just women that struggle with these stories in our heads and comparison, but to hear from a man that it's a human struggle.
Yeah.
Like, we all struggle there.
Yeah. I think we, all have things different, different ways of going about it. But yeah, I think, when you talked about challenging those beliefs, it's really easy. If you can pay attention to, for instance, let's say we decided for the next 30 days, we're all going to commit to getting up an hour earlier. There will be somebody on here listening and going, I am not a morning person. Nope, nope, nope. And we've just got a knee-jerk reaction to this. And you can think about a lot of things in life. You watch the news. Somebody says a news story, and news, that would be another thing for you to do, is just give yourself a news detox for 30 days. Your energy is going to soar. Your mindset's going to soar. Your positivity is going to soar. If you need to know what the news is, somebody will tell you. But if you pay attention to when something comes on in the news, just think of the instant judgment that you have about it, your reaction. That's what sort of things we're living up to. And we'll put a lot of energy into defending reason why we think that way. And a lot of it just stems from old stories and old programming from either school or, upbringing, environments that we were in, and all that stuff. So when you start to question those things, and this is a process, over time, but when you start to really tap into that power of awareness, to just be aware that it's there, and then you can make decisions on those, as opposed to being on autopilot or living life on default, because most of us do. We probably 95% of our day on default, it's on autopilot. And really, 5%, or maybe for some people it's not even that much, are going after what we desire, what our dreams are. The rest of it is just, we just go through our little program. But when we change our program, things need to shift. And that starts with the mindset, and starts with the thinking. Otherwise, we get into this default loop of, I started that again, I kept going, and now here I am. It's the lose weight, gain weight. I think my friend Judy said, she called herself the queen of the lost and found department, because she had lost over 1,000 pounds and she had found it back.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing. It's like, what if you just released it and it's gone? What if you just chose not quitting? And you can make a list of all the things that were maybe going away against you, and what's against the current. What if you just turned the boat and went with the current, and gave yourself some flow and made it easy and simple? instead of making life so hard. So yeah, those are just mindset things that over the years that have just served me. And I'll continue to question any beliefs and things that come up, and pivot along the way, always open to learn. I think that's kind of the being wide awake to opportunities, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah. All right. I have one more question for you. And then if you could tell us about your gift to the audience. So, my
Oh yeah.
question is, you talked about prioritizing yourself. And that part of this
Mm,
was just making yourself a priority for the workout, for the nutrition, all of that. And we
mm,
know workouts take time. Like
yeah.
that's just a fact. Um, how much time? That depends. But what do you say to the person who says, but that's selfish. Prioritizing myself is selfish. It's taking away from my family. Because again, that's
Mm,
another story. How do you
yeah.
address that story?
Yeah. It's, it boils down to why can't you prioritize your family, but still prioritize yourself?
Mhm.
There's that little, I don't know how to call it a cliche, but that little story where people they always talk, and I just got done with a flight the other day, so of course they're telling you, in the unlikely occurrence of an incident
Mhm.
and the oxygen mask, come put yours on first, and then you help somebody next to you. Well, it's kind of like that. It's just helping you be a better version of yourself by taking care of yourself and just becoming an efficient, awesome version of the parent that you want to be, coworker that you're looking to be, or whatever it is that you're doing in your career, the people around you. When your energy is high, because so many of us are busy, we're running around like we're like a 6-year-old smartphone, 2% battery life. All of the alerts keep going on. And then if we're, it's like, oh my gosh, I hope somebody doesn't text me or email me or anything like that, because, do I put it on conserve battery mode, whatever? What if you took the time, even if it's just like 10 minutes, just start with 10 mintes
Yeah.
and dispel that and get rid of the mindset that it's only 10 minutes, that's not going to matter. It matters.
Mhm.
It might not see the results, but it matters because you're creating a habit, you're creating a belief, you're creating confidence, and that momentum will create other things. Then 10 minutes becomes 12 minutes or whatever, 20. But you're getting into designing the life that you really, really want. And I'm pretty sure that you didn't want to be the overwhelmed person scrambling around trying to meet everybody's needs, but you wanted to be really efficient and really effective and really happy. And people want to be around happy people. You can do that by taking care of yourself first. And that doesn't have to take a ton of time. It just needs to take some decisions and then to take some action. And so test that out for 30 days. Not to be done with it, but test it out for 30 days, see what you learn, and then pivot and change and do continue to grow and expand from that direction, because it is the story that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves in the mode that we're already at. And when we can tell ourselves that story and believe it, we will live up to it and we'll defend it. And then things don't change. Transformation doesn't happen. Then we're low on energy. I mean, I often ask people, how would your life look different if your energy and your mental and physical battery was running at 100% every single day? Like you plugged it in every single day, got the battery up there just like your phone. What would your life look like? Would you be going about the things with your family a little bit differently? Would your mindset happen differently as you approached whatever your tasks were for today? Would you approach the way you think about things?
Mhm.
Would that change? And when your battery is running really, really well, and you're making yourself because it really starts with prioritizing yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you, and you can point at all the external things going on around you why you can't, but it may be just pointing it back to you and say, why can't it? And questioning those stories and saying, what are some small shifts that I can make to make an impact and make next year look very, very different than where I'm at now. So that, I guess that's my long-winded response.
No, I love it. I love it because it's about living the life that you want and being
Mm,
the best version of yourself.
yeah.
And that's not a selfish thing. When you're the best version of yourself, like everybody gets the best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's important. So you have something for our audience. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So what I created, it's a free checklist that you can have that what I call morning success habits, but it doesn't have, don't attach it necessarily to the morning. It's just that I choose morning for me on for mindset, for body, for spirit. That it's just some things I've looked at over the years of what successful people do, what they've done, even people busier than me. Um, and I just adopted those and I took those on in those little 30-day stints. Does this matter? Does this change? So one of them might be in there. Let's say it's a breathing ritual.
Mhm.
So, and I know part of this summit, there's going to be somebody with breath work and stuff. So, it, should you decide just something simple with your breathing, like even box breathing, for the next 30 days, I'm going to do that a couple times a day. Put that on my list. I put myself first. Okay. That doesn't take a lot of time. Didn't have to go and hit the gym for that one. I could just sit right in one spot. But you'll notice you'll start to be calmer. You'll feel a little bit more stressed. And so it's these little things. So it's a checklist. Oh gosh, I don't remember how many is in there. But you can go over to morningsuccesshabits.com, absolutely free, and just download that. And I encourage you just to take a look, pick one or two. Don't go and say I got to commit to all of them, because then you're overcommitted, and then what ends up happening, we get this paralysis by analysis, or life is too overwhelming. Just pick a couple. You're like, I can get behind these two right now. Maybe it's drinking water, maybe it's breathing, the box breathing stuff. And going forward next 30 days, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I've rehydrated all my organs, so my battery level is going up. I'm de-stressed, so the stuff that was compressing me is gone, so my energy level is going up. Wow, what is this exercise thing? What is this, doing some mindset and some journaling stuff? What are those things that can really empower and fuel my my entire life? And I'm going to tell you what, we talked about, you as you put yourself first, you become better, that different, better version of yourself for others. This ripples out. So when you're going on high energy and you're enthusiastic and you're loving life and living life and making the most of it, and you're making these choices and you're getting exercise, it's noticeable. It's felt. Your energy is felt by others. People see it, even if they don't tell you. All of a sudden, well, you get this conversation with somebody. Well, I knew that you were exercising, so I decided to. And guess what? My kids are all eating vegetables now and all this stuff. And my husband's out there buying groceries. I never thought he'd ever buy natural peanut butter. And there, it's all this stuff. It will ripple out beyond. So I mean, it's not like you need to do it for others that way. It's just, if you're paying attention, that's what's going to happen. So it's not only impacting your life, it will ripple out beyond what whoever could even fathom. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Go check out it's successhabits.com, morningsuccesshabits.com.
Morningsuccesshabits.com. Yes.
Go check that out. Get his checklist. And like you said, just start small, one or two. It's a great way to start changing your mindset, changing your life. And let's do little steps and do those. And I love that 30 days, but not 30 days to end, 30 days to make a pivot and continue. I love that change. That it's just a little spin, a little change on those 30 days. To It's not just ending there. That's just the beginning. Then you're on to your next step. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Perry. I'm so glad you joined us. And watch the rest of our summit.
Right on.
All right. Have a great day.